Well, another day, another motorcycle adventure here in the Adirondacks, and once again with my neighbor Paul, we're off for an adventure. This time it's more of a time machine than anything else, because we're going to drive back about 40 or 50 years and see something that has sort of vanished here in the Adirondacks. Stand by, here it comes. Well, there's our first stop at this here dam. So this is the Starbuckville Dam that kind of holds the Schroon River back, and I guess is used for some level of flood control. I think it probably maintains the water level on Schroon Lake. And there's the main mill race over there, so if all else fails, the water goes across that. Okay, time for a rest. Hey, somebody left some food down here. Are you hungry?
Yeah, I'm real hungry.
So as I always like to say, it's scenery like this that kind of makes us keep coming back and living up here.
Yeah.
You know, it just is scenic. There it is, beautiful Schroon Lake. And here you are, right in front of beautiful Schroon Lake.
Yeah, here I am, I think.
Schroon Lake is a little bit like a toned down version of Lake George. It's not quite as busy. The water doesn't get quite as stirred up.
It's a lot smaller.
It's smaller, that's for sure, which helps keep the water from getting stirred up. But it's one of the many alternatives up here for lake living. So they've got this beautiful public park here, a nice little beach, and a place to swim. And the water here, right on the cusp of September, is still warm enough to swim. And this lake looks nice and sparkly, dangly clear too. I love that. So this is it. I was never at the original frontier town, so I can't go, okay, that hill was where this was and that hill was where that was. But I've seen the movies. So they've built a lot of parking lots and a lot of day facilities, and there's some hiking trails here. So it's time to dive back about, let me think, this would be 35, about a half a century when life in America was somewhat simpler, but not really. Let's get in the time machine and go. Welcome to the summer of 1961, by way of 8mm home movies from the Yaroschak family, who've given me permission to show them here. I dare say that these are some of the better looking movies I've seen of Frontier Town, and that's because I digitized these movies myself. The place went online on July 4th of 1952. A guy named Arthur Benson, who was a phone technician from Staten Island, started the place. And here's one of their big features, the cavalry leaping to the rescue from the stockade up on top of the hill, and a great thunder of horses and dust. off to rescue some damsel, or to press some kind of land arrangement in some fashion or other. The heyday for a frontier town was probably in the 60s and 70s, and it was a big deal up here in North Hudson, employment-wise. And people were infatuated with the Old West in the old days. It was all over television. Many of the most popular TV shows were Westerns, and there was a love of the whole concept of the rugged American individualist conquering the far West. And of course, the kids couldn't resist joining the cavalry as well. And what a great moment for every mom and dad in the world to get a shot of Junior or Missy marching off to war. Back when such concepts were thought to be a good idea. But they're all there. These guys seem to be able to take orders quite well. If they only knew the kind of history that wagon trains had to suffer through crossing the wilderness. And there goes the cavalry back to the stockade. Whatever problem they went out to solve apparently was solved with great gusto, and back they go to celebrate. Inside the stockade, the cavalry is submitting to the inspection from the tourists. Horses kind of amble off in various directions. Now back in town, Frontier Justice right here at Prairie Town, or Prairie Junction rather. And the kids get a little taste of jail. Yep. Don't get too used to these bars here, kids. Meantime, there's always a horse galloping off in some direction for some reason. They had some really nice wagons here that took people on rides around the property. And I think I recognized that mountain in the background from when we took the motorcycles up there. All right, now Frontier Justice. This was conflict resolution, Old West style. And boy, was it apparently the most satisfying thing in the world to dispatch a bad guy quickly and efficiently. Good lesson for the kids, I guess, huh? This guy is off he goes. And wait a minute. Who's this guy with this fancy 16mm movie camera? Somewhere in some closet someplace, there are some really good home movies of Frontier Town. Hey guy, are you out there somewhere? So the dead bad guy is loaded onto a horse. They might be going to go get a bounty for him. They didn't really explain where they're taking him to. They could be going out to Boot Hill to bury him, or they're taking him back to Dodge City. Now here's the public square with various implements of punishment, which we'll get to in a little bit. Because justice in the Old West wasn't just jail time. So here's the part of Frontier Town that I can identify with as I get older and older. The younger set are running around doing stuff, but the older folks are either sitting or just wandering around aimlessly, just taking it all in, doing the eye candy part. I'm feeling tired right now. I could use a nap. And as always, there's horses going around. In the summer, you know what happens with kids? They get severely dehydrated, unless they get to ride a horse. Okay, it's punishment time. Who knows what this miscreant has done to earn this little trip into the dunking pond? And didn't they sort of borrow this from the old Puritan people? Did they have dunking ponds out in the Old West? Well, anyway, down he goes. You notice he's not tied in. He could get out of this and leave, but then again, they'd probably bring him back and throw him back in the pond. This may be the only bath this guy gets this year. Had enough yet, dude? No? The crowd's probably chastising him. In he goes for another round. All right, that's it. You've been publicly humiliated, and your lungs are full of stale pond water. All right, here's Junior, all duded up and ready for action. This kid is really ready for whatever comes his way. Meanwhile, back in town, some more horsemen are riding in. Are they looking for trouble? Or are they just going to buy some fancy boots? A lot of the buildings that were here at Frontier Town survived many years after the place closed back around 1998, but they slowly deteriorated because of the heavy weather in the winters, and nobody really had any money to keep the place up. It was a very well laid out place, and it's too bad it all had to go, but the infatuation and interest in... Wait a minute. Did somebody just get shot over there again? Oh, there's a bank robbery in progress. Now, Frontier Town had a sort of a petting zoo, but this particular creature, you don't want to hand feed him, so they had a very clever thing with a wheel. You could put food in a wheel and roll it around that the bear could get it. The deer are much more tame, and Junior and Missy could actually feed the little critters without getting their fingers bitten off. Deer learn the trick of don't bite the hand that feeds you. I think the animals here were meant to sort of replicate the animals that were available in the Adirondacks. Okay, it's time for the Frontier Town Rodeo. And they had a good old-fashioned rootin' tootin' rodeo with horse roping and all the usual fixins. And a wild bucking broncos. I guess we're waiting for the show to start. First thing to do is the cowpokes all ride into the center square. Now this horse, he's got the thickest neck in the world. All right, time for some fancy roping and fancy riding. And actually, in the Adirondack areas around Lake George, there are still some rodeo shows. So this whole thing isn't gone yet. Now this woman apparently was the feature artist because she could climb on, ride bareback, do some fancy tricks, and, wait for it, she could ride one leg in the air. Now, I could do that, really. I've done it on my motorcycle. No, I wouldn't do that on a motorcycle. Now, I wouldn't do this either, although I've seen guys do this on motorcycles, but imagine on it something that, you know, hops up and down when you're trying to go around in a circle. Whoa, standing on her head. All right, time for the wild bucking broncos. And no good could come from this. If the horse stopped suddenly, okay, that guy got off all right. Here's another one. This one is not quite so bad, but he's doing his best to try to kick this guy off. I wonder if these were just tame horses that were being irritated in some way to make them angry and buck, or whether there's something going on. Okay, roping the cattle. And I don't know whether this guy succeeded here. I think maybe he got him that time. This really is a good trick, roping cattle from horseback. Try it sometime. Oh man, riding on the back of something with horns. No, I won't do that. Sorry. Never. These kids are now in their 60s and 70s. Frontier Town is gone. Along with it, a whole genre of small-town amusement parks here in the Adirondacks. So they've got a lot of RV camping type stuff here, but it looks like us and that one guy over there are the only customers at the moment. So I spotted this building from some distance and I thought, hey, maybe that's one of the old relic Frontier Town structures that they saved and kind of rehabilitated. But it looks like all new construction, kind of in the style of the Old West type stuff. I don't think there's anything original left. Besides, we told the girl at the front gate we were just going to hang around for 5 minutes, so we can't hang around too long. But here it is, Frontier Town. Thanks for being with us. Good night, everybody.